Welcome to Icon Fetch. I am Tony Peters. Now, Nashville transplant Maia Sharp has written songs for the likes of Cher and Tricia Yearwood and others, and she's collaborated with folks like Art Garfunkel, and she's had a long solo career. Now, her last album, Mercy Rising, came out in 2021, and with our review, we thought it was the best thing that she had ever done. So, here we are with the follow-up.
My kind of people are kind people. My kind of people are kind. If you got a good heart, that's a good start. If you want to be a friend of mine.
It's her 9th solo album, and it's called Reckless Thoughts. And to talk about it, we welcome back Maia Sharp. Maia, how are you? And there we go, the barking, right?
I know. Well, it looks like you're welcoming me back with Louie on the side.
Louie is on the side.
The UPS guy outside. Yeah. So thanks for having me back.
That is. You know what? We love our four-legged friends because they always tell us when a package is coming or whatever. You know, that's it.
I know.
So anyway, well, all right. So tell me. So the last record. I love the last record, but
Thank you.
It was full of a lot of emotions. You were dealing to say the least. You were dealing with a lot with the last record.
Yeah.
So approaching this new record, I would say, just sort of asking, are you in a better headspace? It seems like, you had moved from California to Nashville. You had ended a long relationship. So a lot of stuff was going on. Now you've had a little bit of time to have some of that in the rearview mirror. And now it's time for another album. So how did you approach this new record?
Yeah, well, with all of the changes that happened leading up to the first album, there was just like rich subject matter there, right? Like with, the ending of 21-year marriage, leaving a state that I never thought I would leave. I'm still a California girl, really. I just happen to be living in Nashville. And there was there were so many songs in that. It took me a minute after I kind of got through most of the storms of that and got to look at it from the other side. It took me a minute to kind of find a handle on, okay, how can I keep it real? How can I keep it true and still emotional and still interesting? And I realized as I started to sift through what I'd written in that last year, which I guess would be 22 now, and started to kind of look at some of the realizations, I realized that this album might be answering some of the questions that Mercy Rising was asking. Like I was just in the middle of when is this going to change? When am I going to feel a little bit of relief? When is this going to make any sense? I think I did the right thing, but it hasn't really proven that yet. But then over that year, in the middle of Mercy Rising and Reckless Thoughts, those validations started to show up and kind of a calm started to set in. But I still tried to keep it energetic, even though I'm a little more zen now.
Right.
Still, there's still some stuff to work through. And it's just, it's easier to look back on it and see it more clearly now from the other side.
Some people go fishing, some people go driving, some gaze at the stars in the night. It's a private decision, your way of surviving. Have you ever gone crying to get right?
So do you find it easier to write when you're going through emotional stuff? Like, is it more difficult when you're happy?
Well, it's funny. It's like when I'm really in the throes of the tough stuff, I can't write anything. But right as I'm starting to pull out of it, that is the ground that is really fertile. It's like, okay, I'm well enough to use my songwriter brain, but I'm still hurting. That's like the ultimate space. And that's what a lot of the last album was written in. So yeah, it was a little harder. I mean, I don't know, happy is such a strange word, really. Like, what does it mean? It's kind of a day-to-day thing. But it is a little harder when life isn't quite as tumultuous. So it took a little bit of digging, and it actually got me looking back on some older songs also. Like there's a song on the record, on the new record that was written in 2018 with somebody else in mind entirely. And I didn't realize that I would eventually identify with it. And then like Kind was written fairly early on. And I thought that one was going to be a one-off. Like I thought that was, of course, not going to be like any other thing on the record. And then as I started to write for the record and other songs started to show up as feeling like they are me and they want to be on my next album, they did have more in common with Kind than I expected.
Rich or broke, drink or smoke, to me it's all Pepsi, Coke, whatever floats your boat is fine. My kind of people are kind people. My kind of people are kind.
I always let it unfold. Like I never really try to plan it too hard because really that's kind of a joke. Like every time I think I know exactly how things are going to lay out, it never works out that way.
Right.
So now I just know, let it kind of, it's probably going to take a tangent. It's probably going to take a hard left turn or two. And I got to kind of follow it and see what happens. So it ended up being more of a kind, like unapologetic Americana album than I was expecting, but I'm happy that I let it happen like that.
Sure. Right. You just got to kind of step back and let it take its course kind of thing. So, all right, the opening track on the record, She'll Let Herself Out.
She'll let herself out. She'll let herself out. The gate to the cages that she's been living in.
It sounds to me like you're talking about somebody that for a long time maybe doesn't even realize that she sort of has the keys to get out. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Yes. She didn't understand her full independence. Yeah.
And is that, when you write something like that, do you end up talking to somebody? Is that a personal thing, or is it just kind of an idea that pops into your head?
That one was just an idea that popped in. I had that line for a while. I brought it into my co-writer, Dean Fields. We'd written a bunch of stuff together, and I knew that he would take care of the two-sided meaning of the phrase. I wanted to keep the casualness of it, like how how somebody will just say, oh, I can let myself out. Like I wanted it to sound like conversational, but also at some point in the song have the wallop of the actually she really doesn't need your approval and she is her own person and that power to get the hell out is in her own hands, So I knew that we could ride the line of the meaning.
Right. Now, Old Dreams, that is a pretty powerful song, and I think it's something that we all can relate to.
I'm tired of those old dreams. I'm not even dreaming anymore. That was the old me. She didn't know what she was living for.
Yeah, I relate to that one. I think the most. I mean, I hate to choose a kid on the record, but as far as like ripped from the real life headlines, like that one relates the most to what we were talking about first off. Like this is the looking back. This is the clarity that comes with being on the other side and realizing I'm actually better off than maybe I thought I would be, It's just a perspective thing. And this one was born out of a conversation. Garrison Starr, my co-writer and longtime friend, and I were talking here. Like whenever she comes to Nashville, she stays here. And whenever I go to LA, I stay with her. And we tend to have these conversations like late at night after we've been working all day. And this has happened twice with 2 songs. And in both of these cases, we were working with other people. And then we just kind of got together at the end of the day. We're having a glass of wine. We're just, thinking that the day is over. And we start to talk about stuff in our lives and, our challenges. And this subject showed up in the conversation. And it was like, how when I catch myself having kind of a knee-jerk reaction to something maybe that didn't go how I thought I wanted it to go, I have to make sure that that's not just a default, like that some kind of inner, 25-year-old isn't the one who's really upset, because the 52-year-old who lives right now doesn't really care about that thing anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay that didn't happen. In fact, that would have probably been a pain in the ass. Like, I don't even want, and there's all these things that are happening in my life now that didn't exist when I was 25 or 30. Like the work that the work that I get to do with Songwriting with Soldiers is so important to me, and it's so meaningful, and it wasn't even around when I started to build a dream about what I thought my career was going to look like.
Right.
So it's like, it's okay to be pliable and to kind of let it shift and change. And we hadn't really zeroed in on that in either one of our lives. And it was just a really helpful conversation. And I remember getting far enough into it to where she was like, okay, dude, we have to go write this. And it's like 9:00 at night. I'm like, yes, all right.
Here we go. Right.
Here we go.
There we go. Right.
I don't usually write, at night at all. But when that shows up, you gotta go with it.
The muse is there.
Yeah.
Yep. So tell me about the Songwriting with Soldiers. Tell me, give a little background so listeners know about that.
So, a professional songwriter sits down with an active duty service member, veteran, or a family member, and we write a song from whatever they want to share with us. It's been around, I've only been working with them since 2017, but it's been around for years before that. Garden Smith is one of the founders of it, one of the co-founders. And he and I had written together years earlier, and he thought of me to be, one of the people who could possibly do this thing. I remember the phone call from him. I remember when he told me, like, what the platform is and how it worked, and that I would be sitting down hearing potentially, a difficult story to hear that is completely outside of my own experience. And I would have about 2 to 3 hours to start and finish a song from whatever they tell me. And I remember it scaring the crap out of me. And so I had to say yes, because I had to find out about it. So it's just been such a rewarding experience to get to, first of all, to get to sit down and talk to these people who are not only brave for their service, but they're brave to just be in this place where they're trying to heal, where they're on a journey to figure out how to come out from some of those things that they've seen. The other kind of faction of Songwriting with Soldiers is we drop into this program called the PATH program, Progressive Alternative Training for Helping Heroes. And it's a whole week-long program, and one songwriter will drop in for one night and write with all of the participants at the same time. So
wow.
I'll write with up to 9 people that I meet on the spot. They could be from a mixed experience. Sometimes it's entirely military. Sometimes it's military, first responder, law enforcement. I never really know until I'm there. But that's only 2 hours.
Wow.
It's every time. I know I've done it over 50 times now, and every time I'm like, well, this could be the time I flop. It's like it's every time. You don't know, and there's all the dynamics, the social dynamics, and it's so challenging. It employs every part of me as a songwriter, as a person. I'm always really tired anyway because the travel is rough. Like I've probably taken an early flight there, and then the thing doesn't start until the evening. It pushes me to the limits, and it is awesome. Like it has checked off things that I wanted to do that I didn't know I needed.
Interesting. What a quote that is, right? And really, I mean, I'm sure when you are coming home from that, there's probably a mix of exhaustion, but also just unbelievable. I mean, you just got to be filled with all kinds of emotions because these people have poured their hearts out to you too.
Oh yeah, all of it. And that's the thing, that's where I just feel used up in the perfect way. Like, yes. And I'm, it's funny. I'm always a little emotional after that, but it's not directly about anything that they shared with me. It's just that experience kind of cracked me open and like let me look at some of my own stuff that maybe I thought was all fine, and now it's showing up again. It's kind of like seeping through the cracks, and for that I thank them too, because then it like helps me kind of address stuff early on. Like I can't hide anything, so I feel like that whole experience has really helped me get to this kind of more calm, older dreams kind of place.
Right, sure. And I mean, think about when you started writing songs, you probably had no idea that this was where, writing songs with soldiers and all that. I mean, that is a totally, completely different thing than what you set out to do. And yet here you are. That's awesome,
Yeah, and so it's also taught me to like be open to like some next new way that writing songs can be a part of how I make a living. Because maybe there's something out there that doesn't exist yet, or that I haven't, seen yet. But it's not the old paradigm. Like, you get a label deal, you get a publishing deal, you go out on the road for 300 days.
Right.
It might be something else, or it might be some weird little hybrid of all those things.
Right. And you have to be willing to just kind of go with it. So, all right. On a good day, I really like that.
On a good day, she don't mind the rain when you ask her. She says I can't complain. On a good day, she don't miss you much. On a good day.
Yeah, I have my buddy Vanessa Freeburn Smith is playing cello on that. Kim, my co-writer, came in with that one. Richie, she came in with the verse music on that, the kind of rotation sound. It's so circular that it inspired the lyric and the chorus. So that was really fun. And Kim and I have written together a bunch of times, but we hadn't written together in a long time. So it was nice to sit down with her and get a new one.
Nice.
And it's really, the song's just about a mood, somebody who goes through mood swings.
And we can all relate
with language.
Right. We can relate to that as well. Come on. It's either us or somebody in our life. We can relate to it. So
that's right.
Another great song on the record is Fallen Angel. What can you tell me about that one?
She said, honey, don't fall for a fallen angel. I said, baby, you never had wings. But nobody but you could make it look graceful. Don't change for anything.
That's the only one that I wrote alone on the record. That one was inspired by a crush I had on somebody here, and it was I don't want to say short-lived, but I managed to take advantage of all of those crushy feelings and put that energy into a song for as long as the crush lived, which wasn't very long. But yeah, it's a viewpoint. It's a conversation that I imagined having with her, and it never happened. But I'm really happy with the song, and it's also kind of part of this approach that I think started with Whatever We Are on my last album, where I'm letting myself write from the point of view of what I want, not necessarily where I am now, but where I want to be. Yeah. And I don't think like if I write the song, it will come, it isn't about that. It's just
right.
It's just a good feeling. And the songs tend to be, a little more on the positive side, because I don't want to wallow in every song,
Not every song.
Kind of a way to,
right.
No. Maybe like 8 out of 10.
Right, 8 out of 10 is all. Right, a couple of happy ones. So tell me, what is it like to be a friend of Maia Sharp, hanging out on the couch and having a conversation? Are your friends always like, "Oh shit, she's gonna take this and write a song with it"?
Oh, that's funny. Well, I might do that. They tend to not say, "Oh shit." They tend to be like, "Oh cool." Or actually, more often, they are songwriters also.
Right.
Now,
right.
Well, we got to write that.
We got to write that. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I just wonder how many times, like you gave me the one example, of the old dreams, and it was like, okay, well, you were just hanging out, and then you had to write a song. I mean, I imagine that probably happens more often than not, because you've got, you're hanging out with songwriters.
Yeah, and she was the one that was like, okay, dude, we have to do this, and it has to be now, because we had just said all of these things, and we'd already had like at least a glass of wine, and we knew that if we waited until the morning, we would lose half of the lines.
Right,
so,
right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Kind.
You can put your faith in a pipe dream, jalapeno peppers in your ice cream. You can wear the colors of another team. None of that matters to me.
And if there ever was a hit single off this album, I think it's that one. It's just catchy as hell.
You.
It's awesome.
Thanks.
And what I thought was interesting is that in the copyright, this is a couple of years old, right?
Yeah. So Mindy Smith, Dean Fields, and I got together in 2019, and that was in the previous administration. And we all started to talk about how, like, where did kindness go? Like, there seems to be this, like, change of understanding in society where, like, it's just okay to be just blatantly unkind to a stranger and just say horrible shit, and just, like, what is happening? So we started to share some stories about that, and basically it started down the road of just a venting session. And we realized we may have gotten like a line or two along the lines of that, and then we realized, like, nobody wants to hear this. Everybody probably has their own list of grievances, and this isn't like, the people that would appreciate the message are already very aware of this. Why don't we flip the script and talk about, like, okay, what does it really take to be a person that we want to hang out with? And it has nothing to do with any of these factors that apparently are setting people off and causing them to hate a total stranger. None of these things. So we talked about the obvious ones: race, religion, sexual orientation. And it's like, okay, that's going to come off, it could be kind of cliche. How do we keep it interesting but make our point? And so I think it was Dean who started with, how about jalapeno peppers in your ice cream?
I love it. It's so great. Right.
So then it was off and running. And then it was like one of the coolest co-write volleyball sessions I think I've ever had, because it was like, Mindy was like, you can drive your Maserati in the fast lane. And then I was like, call who you call when you fall on your knees. Okay, how about you can save honeybees? How about you can be a vegetarian? Okay, meat and three or chickpeas. Like, it was so fun. And we really tried to say the big stuff in the smaller ways.
Right.
And every time I play that chorus at a show, especially to an audience who has never heard it, which is, is still a fairly new song. So most of the time when I play it, the audience hasn't heard it. Everybody reacts to that thing. It's like everybody wants to hear that. But this is the only important part about what it really takes to be a friend. It's none of these other things. I don't care if you like your hummus over your barbecue. I don't care who you pray to, or you don't pray at all. I don't care who you love. I don't care what your skin color. Like, none of that stuff matters at all. And it's just so fun to get to build that out, because I don't think I've ever had something that's just that positive and kind of free spirited, and sorry to be all righteous, but right.
Right. That's true. No, it is. It is. And I mean, right. But it is. It's like we need more coming together. We need more, there's so much. It just seems like everything divides us. And yet, come on, we are all human beings, and we all really want a lot of the same things. And it's just crazy. We fight over the really minutia stuff or whatever. And it's like, and it's a great kind of just sort of, a song of acceptance of everybody, and it's great. And I mean, it's also a great sing-along song. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many Maia Sharp songs could qualify as just a good feeling sing-along kind of thing. I'm not saying you don't write great songs. I'm just saying this is kind of a different song for you, don't you think?
Yes, which is why when it was first finished, I thought, okay, I really want to get this out, but it's probably not going to fit on any like full album. And it ended up kind of flavoring and influencing, I think, a few of the others to where I think it really does fit. So
website, MaiaSharp.com, MaiaSharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. Got that. And vinyl coming on this one too?
It is. I did the fiscally irresponsible thing and pressed vinyl again. I'll have that with, I figure I've already made the fiscally irresponsible choice of becoming a songwriter, so I might as well just go all the way with it. Right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you sell them at the gigs, and so those are, you get it, it's good to, I don't know. I bought your last album on vinyl, and I'm, so I like having the big physical vinyl. That's me, I guess. But so you.
Oh, no, I do too. I mean, I don't think I listen to CDs anymore. It's like It's either streaming or it's vinyl at home. And I even have people buy vinyl at shows that don't have a turntable. They just want the art of it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Nice big art and it's a good keepsake kind of thing, but it also I don't know, there's something about that. So good. Yeah, look, right. You made the decision a long time ago to be a songwriter, so I don't know about there's no looking back, right? It's
Oh no, it's on, and I have managed to find that crazy little hybrid of a few different ways to employ this thing that I love to do, and I managed to make it this far. So, I guess I did all right.
Right. Fantastic. Good. All right. Well, the brand new album from Maia Sharp is called Reckless Thoughts, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the road. So good luck with it. All right.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for having me back.
You've been listening to Icon Fetch with Tony Peters. Want more great interviews? Head on over to iconfetch.com. There you'll find every interview we've ever done, plus CD reviews, This Day in Music, and a random album of the day. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Who's Tony going to interview next? It could be you. Send us what you've got to Tony Peters, Icon Fetch, P.O. Box 292134, Dayton, Ohio. Zip code 45429, or email Tony, host at iconfetch.com. Until next time, this is Joe Kelly. Have a great day.